Hi, it's Christmas Eve, and I thought I'd do something different today. I got a lot of people on the channel asking me about my running. Frankly, I haven't run too much recently in the last 2 years. I haven't run an ultra, I think, in maybe 4 years. The last 2 years that I've trained, the ultras have been canceled. The year before last, due to the fires in California, and then last year, or this year rather, due to COVID. What I thought I would do is just do a series on local trails. Maybe do a series as I prepare for my next ultra, which I've got scheduled. Got 1 or 2 options next May. So I'm going to start training for that. So today I'm out at the Shell Ridge recreational area in Walnut Creek, California. I'm putting in at the Marshall Drive entrance, and I'm going to be taking the Ridge Trail out towards Mount Diablo, connecting to the Briones Mount Diablo Trail, and then heading into the Ravine, coming back Stagecoach Road, and then heading back up to catch the Ridge Trail again. So if that's something that might interest you, then join me. Shell Ridge is what I lovingly refer to as the flats. It's about, and not that it's flat, it's not, but it is about the flattest trail running that you're going to find in this part of the Bay Area. It's hilly, that's for sure, but between those hills, there's plenty of fire roads to run, which are relatively flat, kind of undulating. And then even the single track and double track trails, you know, the Ridge Trail especially, it goes up and then it's sort of a moderate incline and then a moderate decline and another moderate incline. It's not bad. At the entrance kiosk, you'll find these great maps. These are new. I've not seen these colored maps before, and they're great. So what I'm going to do today is I'm putting in right here at Marshall Drive. I'm running up to here along the Ridge Trail. Which is going to connect me with the Briones Mount Diablo Trail. And then I'm going to take this little offshoot, head down towards the pond till I get to the Stonegate Trail. And then I'm going to take the Stonegate Trail up back to the Briones Mount Diablo Trail. So I'm going to take the Briones Mount Diablo Trail up off the map, do a loop, come back the Buckeye Ravine Trail, back to the Mount Diablo Trail, back to Ridgetop, and then back to my car. You can see Mount Diablo out there in the distance. So I think I'll be going about 10 miles today, which is probably going to translate into about 2.5 hours on the trail. Now, that may seem like a lot, but you know, with filming and everything, filming takes takes a lot of time off of what I would normally doing, stopping and walking to talk, because I can't talk while I run. I'm not one of those people. Now, Shell Ridge is usually my my takeoff spot for my long runs up Mount Diablo, from the parking lot to the top of Mount Diablo and back. It's a good 20-mile run with some great elevation gain and beautiful scenery. Now Now today, if I'm lucky, you know, I may see coyotes, I may see bobcat. I think it's too cold to see any rattlesnakes, but the rattlesnakes are definitely out here. In the fall when they're mating, you know, you get to see tarantulas. More than likely though, the only thing I'm going to see today are cows, because there are quite a few cows out here. It's cold. It's just after 8 right now, and it's in the low 40s. There's fog. Looks like the sun is trying to come through, but I think it's going to be a cold morning. So Shell Ridge and the corresponding trails are fairly well marked. So if you've got a map with you, there's never any risk of becoming lost. And if you do, it's an area that is mostly surrounded by houses. You know, unless you're out towards the mountain, and that's Mount Diablo, you know, your chances of getting lost are slim. Once you get into Mount Diablo proper, well then you've got, you know, you've got fewer houses, and there may even be fewer trail signs. Now the Ridge Trail is lovely, as you can see. It is a pedestrian and horse trail only. No mountain bikes allowed. Now the trail does intersect with a couple fire roads before it terminates. So if you've got, you know, an hour to kill, half hour to kill, you can come out here and walk part of the trail and then walk back on the fire road. Excuse me if I happen to have snot running down my nose. It's cold, my nose is running. But the Ridge Trail, as I said before, it's not too steep. All the climbs are gradual. You know, it goes up to the crest, follows the crest for a bit, comes back down to one of the fire roads, then ascends back up, again back to the ridge, back down to the fire road, goes around this little loop from which you can hightail it back to the car. If you do that, that makes your run or walk about 5 miles. Or you can continue up back along the ridge until where it terminates at the junction of the Briones and Mount Diablo Trail. Now, one thing you will find every so often are these electric fences. They do allow cattle to graze here, and to keep them in their designated zones, they put up these electric fences. The electric fences will move to different areas throughout the year. So you can see the Briones Mount Diablo Trail down there. This is essentially where the Ridge Trail terminates. Now to this sign, it's 2.8 miles back to the car, which gives you just about 3 miles when I get down to the bottom of the hill. Okay, so I've reached the end of the ridge trail, and it is, according to Strava, 2.95 miles. This is the intersection with the Barones Mount Diablo Trail. From here, you can take a right back to the car, and it's going to be somewhere less than 3 miles. The ridge trail is going to be a little bit longer. This is more of a direct route back to the car. So this is what I consider one of the bailout points. You know, if I'm ever feeling too bad, I can hit this and be back at the car in like 40 minutes. 40-minute walk, that is. But we're gonna go left, and left takes us out toward Mount Diablo. And again, you can connect to the Mount Diablo trails from here and run to the top. Now, I hate to say it, but I am starting to feel a twinge in my left IT band, which means, and I'm barely 3 miles in, which is not a good sign. Typically not something that happens to me, but I haven't, like I said, I haven't been running much at all. I think I ran 10 miles 2 weeks ago, and that was basically it. Regardless, I do want to finish out this this run, so we'll see what happens. Now, as you come down to this dried up pond, and sometimes it has water, sometimes not, it does take you to 2 trails. Both trails essentially take you to the same place. This one's a little shorter. That one is about 4 miles back to the car. Both will take you through the canyon. It's a beautiful walk. It's a beautiful run, mostly downhill. It does have rattlesnakes, so that's something that you should know should you plan to go that way. More intersecting trails, lots of bailout points. So I'm now on the Twin Ponds Trail. That's the Barones Mount Diablo Trail again. So the Barones Mount Diablo Trail kind of snakes its way left and right. Some offshoot trails connect to it, almost like a double helix as you leave the parking lot and head towards the mountain. Really, this is what I would consider the last true bailout point. If I go up here and continue on to the left, that'll put me on the main trail, take me back to the ridge trail, or you know, I can follow the main trail back to the car. What I'm going to do today, though, is I'm going to run up and then run across. Sure, there's a trail right here. I could cut up there, but I want to get the extra mileage that comes from not doing a straight line, especially because I want to get in, you know, around 10 miles without going too far from the car. And so this is a good way of doing that. But you can see why I call it the flats. Once you get off the ridge, between here and where I turn left to go down to the canyon, it's not too bad incline wise. A bunch of false flats mostly. I've been running just over an hour. I haven't eaten yet, but I will on the next hill. I like to give my body some time before I start eating on a long run. Typically I'll wait for about an hour or so. I kind of want my body to get used to the idea that, you know, muscle glycogen, liver glycogen isn't going to be enough to fuel this run. And you know, so give it some time to start tapping into those fat stores. No scientific evidence of this, but since I routinely work out unfasted and do so for an hour and a half, I think my body's pretty much used to that. And so on my longer runs, if I'm going, you know, 2 hours or more, I'll wait an hour and then I'll start slowly introducing fuel. Today's fuel of choice is the One Bar. I don't know anything about this. I picked it up at the vitamin shop, basically because it was a gingerbread flavor. On my shorter runs, my shorter long runs, you know, I feel okay sort of experimenting with stuff. If I get some gastrointestinal distress, you know, I can cut things short, or I'm not that too far from home or too far from the car. Normally what I would do here is I would run out this trail, but because there are so many cows over at the junction, I'm just gonna run straight. It'll shorten the run up probably by a quarter mile, which isn't too bad. I try to give the cows a wide berth. You know, I mean, they're not going to cause any problems, but you know, I don't want to spook them. So I think I've officially transitioned over into what is considered Mount Diablo. And you can see the clouds have abated a little bit and get a little bit better view. So when you've got IT band issues on a run, there are a couple things that you can do. You can focus on firing your glutes more, that is engaging your hips more. They say that IT band issues are really an imbalance in the hips, a weakening of the hips, which in my case, after a year of COVID, makes a lot of sense. So firing your hips more can delay the onset of problems. You know, in my experience, once you start feeling problems, those problems aren't going to go away. The other thing that you can do, besides walking, and walking is really the best thing to do, is to find softer soil to run on. And that doesn't mean sand, because if you run on sand, that's actually going to make things worse. But just soil that's not as hard packed. So let's see. I think I will go up to the right of this mother and calf. Boy, lots of calves out. Okay, from this point, if I had followed this, that would take me to Mount Diablo. I'm going to head down the little Yosemite trail, which, you know, there's so many different trails here that, you know, you can find your own way to the top. It's just that some routes are more direct than others. Anyway, this is sort of the turnaround spot for this particular run. And it's going to take me down into a canyon, along a fire road, and then I'll come back up and meet the Briones Mount Diablo trail again, and then back to the Ridge Trail. Making the descent into the canyon, and this is my favorite part of this run. it's also the most technical spot in the run as well. You know, and in comparison to East Coast trails, California trails, or at least Northern California trails, are not technical at all. And here's where the little Yosemite trail bottoms out, connects with Stage Road. There's an access gate up there. Again, that takes you up to the mountain. Picnic areas, a place to tie your horses off. There are no bathrooms down here, so that's just something to be aware of. If you plan to come down here for a hike or a run, make sure that you're prepared. A short hike along the Stage Road, and I am ready to head back to the Briones Mount Diablo Trail. I'm meeting up with the Buckeye Trail, and the Buckeye Trail will essentially take me straight up to the Briones Mount Diablo Trail. Looks like somebody dropped a water bottle. Now the Buckeye Trail, depending on the time of year, can be a short, interesting journey. It is steep, and in the spring and in the winter, if there's been a heavy storm, you'll get fallen trees, fallen tree limbs that cross the trail that you may have to navigate. But the worst thing is the mud. It is not a trail that I would recommend coming right after a rain. In fact, this entire system is not something that I would recommend at least immediately after a rain, just because of the clay type soil. You accumulate what I call mud clogs, which means that on the sole of your foot, you'll accumulate 2 to 3 inches of mud as you're running. It just gets caked on. If that's your thing, great. Just be aware of that. But this trail in particular gets really muddy and really, really slippery. So it can make it hard to actually hike up the trail. It gets so slippery. A camera never adequately displays the steepness of a trail, but that's a good 45-degree angle going up. That's the Buckeye Trail where I just came up. And that's the Briones Mount Diablo Trail. Now, if I go left, that's essentially where I met the trail earlier. The Twin Ponds Trail is down that way, but we're going to go right back to the Ridge Trail. So the intersection of the Buckeye Trail and the Briones Mount Diablo Trail marks the 7-mile point. My IT bands are pretty much shot in both legs, which is a little unusual for me. Typically, I don't feel a twinge in my IT bands until I get to about mile 8. So it's going to be walking and running, trying to manage, trying to float that fine line between my IT bands fully blowing out and making at least some decent time back to the car. Now, IT band problem is something that I've had to manage for years. Right now, it's feeling worse than it has in a while. It's pretty unusual for me to come out and do a short run like this and have this sort of pain. It's a simple thing for me to manage. More foam rolling, better eating to reduce inflammation, stretching, and strengthening. Most important, strengthening. So, you know, this week I'll start working on doing step-ups. I'll start working on hip hikes to strengthen my hips a little bit. And, you know, 2 weeks time, hopefully I can go out and run pain-free. Wow, that was unexpected. You know, no sooner had I settled into a walk-run, my calf just seized up, which again is not normal. Fortunately, I've got some magnesium oil with me, which I'm going to slather on, and hopefully that'll take care of the cramping. It's really strange. I've also got salt tablets. So I carry a bottle of magnesium oil and just slather that on. The magnesium oil will absorb into the skin and help mitigate the cramp. I'll walk for about 5 minutes before I try to run again. And if it seizes up again, then I guess I'm walking back to the car. It's probably about 3 miles from here, so it's not too bad. You know, if I have to walk back, it's only about an hour back. As you can see, this area is absolutely beautiful. So there could be worse places to have to walk for an hour. Okay, we're back and we're running again. So now I've come to the intersection of the Briones Mount Diablo Trail and the Borges Ranch Trail. You can enter the park down there. There's a parking lot. There's also water down there. So if you ever mistime your run or your hike and you're still, I mean, from here I'm still 2.5 miles from the car, which if I'm walking, you know, that's another 45 minutes. And for me, 45 minutes without water, especially on a hot day, can be an issue. But you just go down to the bottom of this hill and there's water there you can fill up. And then as you come down to the bottom of the hill, there's a trail on the left-hand side. That trail will take you back to the Ridge Trail. Whoa, so many cows. So now I've come back to the intersection of the Ridge Trail and I'm heading back up the road to the trail proper. I talked to the guy here, and what he's doing is he's handing out alfalfa, and that's why all the cows are following them. You think there'd be plenty of grass here, but I don't know, maybe the alfalfa has more nutrients, who knows. So it's a steady climb up to the ridge, and then it's going to be just sort of a lateral rolling traverse all the way back to the car. Now there's Borges Ranch. The trail that we just saw comes down this way, meets with the ranch there. There's water there, and then if you come out here, you can see right down in here there's a trail, and that trail will take you back up to that loop area on the ridge trail. And so this is the trail that meets up with the Borges Ranch. It's right down at the bottom of that hill. Now, either one of these trails will take you back to the car. Now this lower trail that I pointed out earlier will go all the way back to the car, and it basically follows the ridge trail the entire length. Again, the ridge trail is intersecting with the fire road, and as I said before, you know, it's kind of a double helix around all of these hills. So I am officially walking after about I don't know, a mile and a half of run walk. I'm walking, and about a mile and a half to the car now. Now, one advantage of walking is you're quieter, which means you tend to see more wildlife. And I was coming through here earlier this year, and I came across a bobcat right on the trail. I was right behind him, or her, and it took a while for it to realize I was there. So that was cool. It's my first bobcat sighting. And the trail that I was talking about earlier that takes you through the canyon, takes you through this canyon here. It's completely shaded and puts you out there, and you just take that fire road up to where that school is. That's where the trailhead is. It's Marshall Drive. Oh man, the downhills are the worst. That may sound counterintuitive, but it's the eccentric contractions that your legs have to deal with on the downhills that actually make downhills harder on the body than going up. And when you've got IT band issues, you can really feel it. Anyway, I'm probably, I don't know, half a mile from the car now. So it'll be over soon. Now some people may be wondering what cities we're looking at. Out this way we've got Highway 24, Highway 680, that's Walnut Creek. Out this way we've got Concord. In the distance is Martinez, and you can't really see it because of the fog, but you've got the Carquinez Straits there. So the San Joaquin and Sacramento rivers basically flow into the delta. The delta flows out to the bay and through the Carquinez Straits to do that. And there's Marshall Drive, where I parked my car. Now, oftentimes I'll park over by John Muir Hospital and I'll come down that trail. That's about 2 miles to the run, and that's really the reason I do it. And here I am back at the gate. Final distance tally is 10.88 miles over 3 hours and 22 minutes. Lots of walking. If you're a local subscriber to the channel and have wondered about the Shell Ridge Recreation Area, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for coming along.